Teas are a staple, and it's estimated that 165 million cups of tea are drunk every day in Britain. So it's guaranteed to be found in the majority of households, workplaces, and palaces. Teas certainly bring people together, but that's not all that they do. With the ability to lower cancer rates, heart disease, and diabetes, they have a host of other health benefits that we have to explore today. This isn't a Sainsbury's ad, by the way. Welcome to Life of Dr. Kandi. I'm Dr. Kandi, and I'm bringing you little actions that make a big difference to your overall health and wellness. So tea is derived from a plant called the Camellia sinensis plant, native to China and India, and it contains unique antioxidants like flavonoids, which you would have heard of in my previous videos. The amount of time the leaves are processed determines whether you end up with a white tea, a green tea, Oolong tea, or a black tea. So the more processed the tea leaves, usually the less micronutrient content you get. White tea is the least processed and comes from the bud of the plant. Green tea is a little bit more processed and comes from the next two leaves. Now, interestingly, high quality white tea comes with lots of hairy buds, so interesting to taste and see, but it's actually quite difficult to make. So you're more likely to get poor quality white tea than you are green tea, which is maybe why it doesn't get all the fame that it deserves. In addition to that, white tea isn't widely available, at least not compared to green tea, of course. So I talk about flavonoids a lot, and along with catechins too, they are a powerful micronutrients, and guess what? They're packed full in tea. If you think of your body as internally as rusting or, undergoing damage from pollution, what we call oxidative stress, then flavonoids and these micronutrients, they act as antioxidants, and they also act as anti-inflammatory, so they help prevent and reverse that process. White tea, as I said, is packed full of these, as well as green tea. Studies have shown that green teas may also interfere with the growth of stomach, bowel, pancreas, lung, bladder, and breast cancer. So pretty powerful stuff. Tea may also reduce your risk of heart attack and stroke. In fact, a study published in 2016 where it combined the data from a host of different reports, basically found that nearly 20% reduction in the risk of a heart attack and 35% reduced risk of stroke among those who drank 1 to 3 cups of tea per day. And for those who drank 4 or more, then they had 32% reduced risk of having a heart attack and lower levels of bad cholesterol. This is green tea, to be precise. Now, based on these findings of another study looking at 100,000 individuals in China, they concluded that a 50-year-old frequent tea drinker may develop heart disease almost a year and a half later, or live about a year longer than someone who rarely ever drank tea. Studies have shown that tea can tune up your immune cells, so they reach their targets quicker, so that's really immune boosting. And for centuries, Ayurvedic practitioners have used holy basil or tulsi tea due to its really antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory properties, and it's really done wonders for boosting people's immune systems. Japanese researchers have shown that drinking tea can decrease your risk of cavities, and that it doesn't actually erode the enamel like a lot of other drinks. White tea contains really high amounts of fluoride, so it's postulated that as well as the antioxidants which help strengthen teeth, fight plaques, and are more resistant to change in environments like acid or sugar, it really helps strengthen your teeth. It also reduces the risk of neurological disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. As I've mentioned, white teas are the least processed tea, and research shows that it's really effective in fighting various forms of cancer due to lots of anti-cancer properties. So green tea is made with steamed tea leaves. Matcha is a fine, high quality green tea powder made from the entire leaves of tea bushes, and they are always grown in the shade. Since it's the only form of tea in which the leaves are ingested, matcha contains even more antioxidants than regular green tea. So they say that 1 cup of matcha is equivalent to 10 cups of regular green tea. Herbal teas are similar to white teas, but the tea leaves are blended with herbs, spices, fruits, and other plants. Herbal teas don't contain caffeine, which is why they're known for very calming properties. I think I've got a herbal tea here. So some examples include chamomile tea, so that's really good for menstrual pain and muscle spasms, so great for things like inflammatory bowel symptoms, irritable bowel syndrome, improves sleep, relaxation, helps reduce stress, which is why it's often drunk before bed. Rooibos tea, which is something I haven't heard of but something I will be getting, improves circulation and blood pressure, but it also reduces your bad cholesterol and increases your good cholesterol, as well as having lots of benefits for healthy hair and skin and relieving people from allergies, which I have lots of. Peppermint, which is another staple in our household, that contains menthol, which can soothe an upset stomach, help with constipation, irritable bowel syndrome already, as I mentioned, and motion sickness too. And it's also good for headaches and migraines, which again I get a lot of. Ginger, that's usually used for morning sickness, in pregnancy, as well as chronic indigestion or joint pains from osteoarthritis. Hibiscus, if you have a sweet tooth, can help stave off cravings, as well as lower blood pressure, improve liver health, and improve the formation of kidney stones, or prevent the formation of kidney stones. Now, green tea is not allowed to oxidize much, whereas black tea is allowed to oxidize until it turns black. Oolong tea is somewhere in the middle, so it is partially oxidized. Oolong tea contains an amino acid that reduces anxiety and increases alertness and attention, and it prevents things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, as I've mentioned before. It also as well has lots of micronutrients, so boasts the benefits of the previous teas. So the leaves of black tea are dried and fermented, giving black tea a really like a darker colour and a richer flavour. So things like chai tea, Earl Grey, PG Tips brands, etc. Black tea is actually quite heavily caffeinated, so it's important to go quite easy on it. It also does have flavonoids though, not as much as the others, but it can be used not only internally, but can also be used externally. People use it on swellings, cuts, minor injuries and stuff, and for hair masks to strengthen the shafts. So whilst the majority of teas are good for your health, you may want to stay away from certain brands or products. So number one on my hit list is detox teas, because they're just diet performing teas. Actually, when I was younger, I tried one and they're just laced in laxatives. So this is not a good way to go. It's not good for your overall health. I'd avoid these detox teas. Fancy teas and drinks like latte, green teas, etc. They sound healthy, but they're actually just packed with sugar. The same with bubble teas, lots of calories, carbs, they're not great, and no nutritional value. And then some herbal teas, have a high allergy risk. So it's important that if you're quite hyperallergenic, then you should just be careful and just read the instructions properly. So to summarise, I just want to say a few points. Tea is a brilliant no-calorie alternative to water. There are so many different flavours, so many different ways to have it, that if you're not a great water drinker like me, tea is a really good way to hydrate. Tea is also typically less caffeinated than coffee, so it boasts those great benefits too. So if you want to switch from coffee to tea, but you want to still keep that similar taste, you could try a chicory root tea. White and green tea, just as a note, shouldn't be used with boiling water as they're more likely to ruin the leaves. So you should just let the water cool down for a couple of minutes and that should be better. And then finally, please remember that if there are any health benefits to green tea consumption or any of the other teas, it's completely eroded by adding sugar and sweeteners. So it's always best to avoid these where possible. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's small tidbits on little actions that make a big difference to your overall health and wellness. Thank you.